Test.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we do.
You want to start over?
Keep talking.
Oh, keep talking.
There we go. I have no idea what was wrong there.
Maybe it was that AJ needed some powder. Get some powder on your nose. Well, guys, welcome back to Barside Jive. What's a show without some technical problems? Right?
That's every show.
I mean, I am DC.
And I'm AJ.
And we hope you guys had an outstanding weekend. Did you have a good weekend?
I had a blast. Got my son in town from Utah, from Hill Air Force Base. He's getting ready to go to Ramstein, Germany. So he's here until Thursday.
That's awesome. It's great having the kids around, huh?
Yeah. He drank all my beer.
Did he? That's what kids are good for. It's using your stuff.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's really good. Guys, we are on the air live at AJ's Bar, located at 651 South Main Street in historic downtown Grapevine, Texas. Oh, my featured guest today is the legendary Carl Dixon.
Dick Carlson?
Carlton Anthony Carl Dixon is a Canadian rock singer, keyboardist, drummer, and guitarist, which means he is a multi-instrumentalist. He's been a member of the bands Coney Hatch, April Wine, and the Guess Who. Do you know those bands?
The last two, I don't know first.
Do you know the Guess Who? You know April Wine, but you didn't know Coney Hatch. Yeah.
Was that the first one?
The first one?
Was that his first one?
Yeah. First one. So he's been in all three bands, quite a talented guy, and here he is now.
Hey everybody, this is Carl Dixon from Coney Hatch and the Guess Who and April Wine, and you are watching Barside Jive.
Thanks, Carl. We'll see you in a minute. So AJ, what are we drinking today?
Drinking some Hopadillo.
Hopadillo.
We got the right glass.
We got the right glass.
Beer.
Well, as long as you don't turn around to Love Street side.
Both I got us covered.
We are covered, baby.
Oh.
Hopadillo do.
We are. It's good beer, huh?
Good beer. Cheers.
And where's it made out of?
Carbox in Houston.
Your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Houston, Texas. Space City.
Yep.
Did you ever see any launches when you lived there?
They just do them at Canaveral.
Oh, that's right.
And,
They don't launch there, but they control them there.
yeah, that's their control centers.
Yeah.
Johnson Space Center.
Did you ever go there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I went there when I was a kid in school, and then it's basically
On a field trip?
Yeah, basically all of the rockets and everything was just sitting outside. In front,
Yeah.
Now they're inside air-conditioned buildings.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
All those rockets are on
Those
display
really big
outside?
ones, yeah. I took my son Arvin on a field trip with him down there, and
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. All
They
the
put them in
rockets-
buildings?
Yeah, they're
Those are big-ass buildings.
massive.
Wow.
All 8, they're all out there.
Wow. So yeah, you can't see any launches from there. It's humid.
You could, but you'd be probably inside a room watching it on TV something.
Yeah, right. They let you do that?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. So when I've been there with the kids on field trips, I love field trips, by the way. Always have. Love field trips. But when we went, there was nothing to see.
Oh man, it was wild.
I mean, there wasn't anything to watch on the monitor. They were like so taking off.
Yeah.
Well, now they've gone commercial with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
Virgin's done it.
Yeah. Branson just did it, and
Bezos is doing it this
Bezos
week.
is doing it. Yeah. So I guess his didn't go as high or as long as what Bezos is actually going to go. I guess.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Bigger and better.
Well, guys, speaking of beer, the reason we drink beer during this show is because it's a lot cheaper than therapy, right?
I don't know. I've never went to therapy.
Oh, I have. I can tell you all about it, but that's another show. But don't forget that Barside Jive is sponsored by the Zoo.
The Zoo. On vocal.
Remember that the zoo is still the king of classic rock with those deep cuts, those B-sides, all that stuff you're never going to hear on corporate radio. And it's streamed universally. Vocalnow.com. And remember, vocal is intentionally misspelled with a K. 24/7, 365, you can hear real rock and roll. All right, I got one for you. So this guy, he walks into a bar, right? After a long day at work, and he orders a drink. He sits there mulling over his day, and he hears a high-pitched voice say, "That shirt looks great on you." The man looks around, and he sees nothing and returns to his drinking, thinking nothing more about the little voice. But then, moments later, the voice returns, this time offering, "You seem like a really cool guy." Again, the man looks around, sees nothing, and returns to his drink, wondering if he should get checked out by, a professional, some therapy, right? Finally, when his nerves have cooled, he believes the voice is gone. And about that time, he hears, "I bet your parents are really proud of you." He slams down his drink and looks around. Frustrated and finding no possible source of the voice, he finally calls the bartender over. "AJ, what's that voice I keep hearing?" "Oh, those are the peanuts," the bartender replies. "They're complimentary."
I like
They're
that.
complimentary.
That's good.
Hey, you're cute. You need to get peanuts on your bar.
There's already been some nuts up there.
You don't need any peanuts. Guys, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Just search Barside Jive Live at youtube.com. Click subscribe and then click that little bitty bell.
Oh.
Is it happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it happened.
All right. That little bitty bell will allow you to know when I post my premium content, which is free to all of you guys, just because we think that you're premium people. Okay. Oh, I got another one for you.
All right.
Okay. For his birthday, an old man's nephew secretly hires a call girl for him. When he answers the door, she's standing there in a slinky black dress. She says, "I'm here to give you super sex." After thinking for a minute, the old man replies, "I guess I'll have the soup." And with that, we're going to give you a word from our friends over at Fallgat Cellars.
Wait, we skipped one. But we're...
Hi DC, thanks for having us on your show. And for you folks, I'm Roger Earl of the band Foghat, and these are our wines. Foghat Cellars. This is a Chardonnay from Monterey County, absolutely delicious, 2014. We have 2013 Pinot Noir from Monterey County. It's absolutely fabulous, a wonderful drinking wine. If you like Pinots, you'll love it. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Paso Robles. All our wines come from Central Coast of California. Steve Rasmussen is our winemaker. Though in fact, myself and Linda actually get involved in the making of some of our wines. Drink, enjoy, go to foghatcellars.com to find out how to get them. Thanks, bye.
Don't forget to use our special coupon code Barside Jive at the checkout screen for your 20% discount off your purchase. And you can even get an autographed bottle from Roger Earl, only remaining member of the classic Fog Hat lineup.
Wow, that's pretty professional.
That's what I do.
That's what I do.
Back up.
What?
What did you almost get me on? Eat me.
Okay. Well, over my weekend, I watched some westerns, and I watched the Magnificent Seven for the 50th time. But the 2016 Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, Ethan Hawke version, not the 1960 Yul Brynner, Eli Wallach, Steve McQueen version, which I love both. But it's kind of cool watching the newer one. Have you seen it?
I have. I like the old one.
I like the old one too, but I like the new one for different reasons. But although I've probably seen the 1960 version like hundreds of times. But anyway, so I was going to tell you that back in 14, 15, I was living in New Orleans, and I got to audition. My agent got me an audition for a gunfighter role in the Magnificent Seven, the remake. And I wanted to show you my audition tape.
All right.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. You ain't offering nothing worth dying for, friend. Unless there's some other enticements.
Newly widowed. Leave her out of this.
That was it. What you think? Maybe that's the reason I didn't. Maybe that's the reason I didn't book it. Anyway, Angie McIntyre of Action Talent in Jackson, Mississippi, did a great job getting me that, landing me that audition. Although I didn't book it, I mean, I can still say that, hey, I got to audition as a gunfighter in the movie. So who knows?
Cool.
Talking about westerns, it reminds me of a story. So a three-legged dog walks into a saloon, his spurs clinking as he walks, his six-shooter slapping at his furry hip. He bellies up to the bar, stares down the bartender, and proclaims, "I'm looking for the man who shot my paw."
You got some good
That's
ones,
pretty
man.
good. Yeah, this is pretty good.
Killing it today.
Yeah,
You see.
I'm nailing them all. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that'll bring us up to our featured guest segment, which is Carl Dixon. Just as I mentioned earlier today, Carl's powerful vocals and songs have put him at the forefront of the Canadian rock industry for 3 decades, guys. He's renowned as both a solo artist and band member of the groups Coney Hatch, The Guess Who, and April Wine. Since his miraculous survival of a car accident back in 2008, Carl continues to tour as a solo artist and an inspirational speaker to corporations across Canada and the USA, sharing his inspiring comeback story. His most recent work, solo rock album Unbroken, was released in Canada in early 2020 to good media reviews. I'll be right back after a quick break with the talented Carl Dixon. are watching Barside Jive with my guest, Carl Dixon of rock bands Coney Hatch, April Wine, and The Guess Who. So you've toured with many great bands over your career, and we've talked about two big tours for you guys, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. But you've also toured with Triumph. By the way, I had Rick on the show about 6 months ago or so.
Rick's another old buddy. We've done many shows together, and we're good friends.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man. I just had a great time with him. So I've had a ton of Canadian artists on my show. I mean, a bunch.
Good for you. That's nice.
Yeah. No, I'm pleased. No, I'm pleased. No one from the Guess Who till now. Okay, so you've also toured with Triumph, Ted Nugent, Accept, Crocus. I don't know who all else. Are there any memories of any of those tours that really stand out in your mind?
Oh man, well, so many bands that we played with over the years. Back in the '80s, we were sort of competing as new guys trying to sell our records with the big boys, but at the same time feeling like we're the junior partners on this tour. So we kind of have to make our mark extra hard just to even get people to notice us. I will say that the Iron Maiden guys were very helpful and fun. Accept were great. Udo, the little singer of Accept, he was always into the camouflage clothing. And so one time Andy and I were out, and Andy said, "You know what? Let's get a little gift for Udo." He saw in a variety store a camouflage pattern. What's the proper name for military gear? That's for maybe it's camouflage. I don't know, but it had a pen on a lanyard that had the camouflage pattern. So Andy said, "Let's get this for Udo." So we go and see him on the sound check that day. We were in Dallas, I think, actually, when we did this, a couple of dates into the tour, and we walked up to him, and Andy said, "Udo, we got this for you." And he looked at us and he said, "This is for me? Oh, you guys. Oh, you should. This is so great. It's a pen on a lanyard." But I guess he thought it was huge to him,
Yeah.
So
crazy.
that was a moment. On that tour, I remember the Crocus guys were very snooty, wouldn't talk to us, had a ton of just, "We are the greatest thing out of Switzerland ever," kind of attitude. And yeah, they just treated us like we were dirt, and the Accept guys were just wonderful. So everybody had different attitudes. And I remember thinking, when I'm looking at Crocus's set list and thinking about the attitude they were giving us and saying, "Geez, half your set list is cover tunes, guys. Drop the attitude. You didn't even write your hits, So what the heck? It was all the bands you learn something from about how to carry yourself or how not to carry yourself, and how to present a show. It was, as I said, earlier, none of us in Coney Hatch went to university. Our guitar player went to a couple of years of community college jazz school, and that's why he had such an interesting approach to rock guitar. But going on these tours, having a record deal at age 21, that was like us going to university. We learned all these important things that we wouldn't have learned any other way. And it enabled us to have that confidence for the rest of our lives that, okay, we know how to do this. Yeah, we belong here.
Well, in that list of bands I gave you, I mentioned Ted Nugent. And since he is at least now a Texan, how was he to work with?
Well, that was the period of time where Ted was swinging onto the stage on a simulated vine like Tarzan, wearing nothing but a loincloth. And so it was a bit silly. He didn't talk to us. Cheap Trick was also on the bill, and they came back and mingled with us in the dressing room and drank some of our beer and were complaining about being hungover from last night's show. Ted's crew was rotten to us. They came in our hometown, but they decided they were just going to crush us. So they went. They were like bikers. We had this big 250-pound Native American sound man, Terry Sonic Smith, we called him. And these guys were so intimidating. He came back just boiling over. They wouldn't let him push the volume past a certain amount. They put limiters and compressors on the sound. And so we sounded just this big in front of our hometown crowd of 20,000 people.
Wow.
You know, they didn't all come to see us, but it was, you know, it was really just a humiliating play by Ted's crew. And that I've seen that often over the years, that road crews and road tour managers will act all uppity and abuse their position to people. I did a show with Edgar when I was with April Wine. We played with Edgar Winter in Wyoming, this outdoor rodeo ground. And his tour manager came in and they didn't have this right and they didn't have that right. They were doing the best they could, local guys. Tour promoter, he keeps saying, "Don't make me get Edgar out of bed. He's not going to be happy if you don't fix this." Oh, Edgar's going to be so mad if you make me wake him up to deal with this shit, you know.
Right. Wow.
And it turned out Edgar's the sweetest guy. He didn't care about that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of times artists have no idea what goes on in the daytimes at the show while they're getting ready for the show and the crew has the run of the place.
Wow. You know, we've talked about Coney Hatch, we've talked about April Wine, we've talked about the Guess Who, and your transition through those bands, Carl, but is there anything that would pertain to any of those three bands that was particularly a funny experience, whether it was a equipment failure on stage or whether it was something that happened behind the scenes, or maybe just a slip, trip, fall, an accident that was big? I mean, was there anything that just stands out in your mind as, oh God, I remember with the time that I, you know, one of those deals?
Well, I tend to be an impulsive guy and always rushing around to things. So yeah, I had a number of such incidents. We're playing, and funny enough, these things mostly happen in the early days when you're just still too excitable and not in full command of what you're doing.
Right.
We were about to go on stage in Halifax one time, and the intro music was playing, and I get up on the stage, and I used to like to have the little bottles of club soda to drink on stage at the time. A lot of guys drink beer. I had club soda. Don't ask me why. It just seemed like a good thing to do. So the music's playing. I've got my guitar on. Oh, and I've got the club soda in this hand. I take one step this way to my right, and there was a gap this big between the edge of the stage and the PA stack. Well, didn't my foot find that exact opening? And I go, woof, with my right leg slips down the hole right up to my crotch. So I'm like this, the guitar goes on the stage, the soda bottle smashes in my hand as I hit the stage. So two roadies had to run onto the stage to help pull me out of this gap just as it was time to play. And I had bruising all up my thigh for a week after that. Wow. Another time we were playing in Boston, and everybody else is already downstairs. I'm the last one down. I grab a door handle, and the sleeve around the handle is loose, the metal thing that backs it. And I turn it, and it goes slice through my hand. Suddenly, 30 seconds to showtime, and I'm gushing blood from this massive cut in my hand. Once again, one of those same poor roadies wraps paper towel around my head and gaffer tape. And I have to run down stage and start playing with blood running down. Man, I had a number of those injury incidents actually over the years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess there were some wild ones with the other bands, April Wine and the Guess Who, but it would be incriminating. Well, I can tell you one story about the night we had to send Jim Cale home for a while, and he blamed me. I was kind of the instigator. Jim was kind of a wild guy, and I decided, well, and he was picking on me to see if I could take it, because Jim liked his drinking and he liked his drugs, and he didn't really care who knew it, but he could see I was goody two-shoes, so he was pushing me all the time to see if I could take it. And I finally got to the point, we almost had a rumble in the parking lot at a motel outside Cleveland on the way across the country. So I said, that's it. I don't care. If I lose this job, I'm going to stand up to him and say what I think. And so the other guys realized, wow, Jim's out of control. So we had a meeting and said, Jim, please go home for a while, get into rehab. And he said, well, if that's the way you feel, fine, I'm going home. So he had one last night with us, but he blamed me for the whole thing. So we're on stage playing one of the, I don't know, one of the big Guess Who songs. And Jim had long hair, but when he let it out of the ponytail, you could tell, oh boy, here we go. Suddenly the hair's all hanging underneath. And he comes over mid-song. I'm singing. I had a sleeveless vest on. He comes in, sinks his teeth into my left shoulder as vengeance for whatever I'd done to him in the middle of the song. And he goes, yo!
Wow.
And then with this evil scowl, I realized, okay, keep singing. Maybe it won't get any worse. And I think he gave me a kick in the ass. And then he went back to just we called him Chingachgook in those moments when the hair came down and he was out of control. So yeah, that was a bit of a nutty one. There were a few wild, I love the guy, but there were a number of moments in that experience where he would provide you with some hard to handle moments. Yes.
So I'm sensing that drugs and alcohol weren't a real issue for you.
I stayed away from it completely. I never touched drugs. I've tried smoking a joint maybe 3 times my entire life. And, I didn't really care for it. Never touched any of the other drugs and never became a drunk or anything. I had a party once in a while with the buddies, a few beers after a big gig or something.
Sure.
And I still like a cold beer after I've been working outside. Playing hockey, that's one of the great times you appreciate a cold beer. You come off the ice after working your guts out. Your gear is completely soaked in sweat. You're sitting there, a cold beer, sitting in the dressing room. That is the finest human experience right there. Right. But no, drugs and alcohol were never a thing for me. I was always about staying in shape. I always wanted to keep not only physically, well, not only mentally ready, but physically ready for whatever opportunity might come my way. I didn't want to be messed up when the next big chance came. So I always maintained myself. I could, run 10 kilometers anytime, go swimming lengths of the pool when the other guys were searching for Scotch bars. That's just how I kept myself.
I mean, so many guys were heavily into drugs and alcohol. So what do you think it was that kept you away from that? I
like being physically fit. I liked feeling strong and in command of myself. I wasn't escaping from anything. The music was everything for me. And the teamwork feeling. I was always the sober one that was the only guy straight enough to get behind the wheel and drive us to the next town for our next gig, while everybody was partying in the back behind me. So at times I kind of felt, guys, come on, give me a break here. Somebody else take over. Somebody stay straight, please. But on the other hand, it becomes one of those things that you just take it on as, yep, that's my identity. I'm the straight guy. I'm the one that makes sure we get to the next town. So I didn't feel, it bugged me sometimes. Mainly I took that on as, yep, that's just who I am.
Did they make fun of you, being the nerd guy?
Oh, sure. My nickname, it wasn't unkindly meant, but they called me Milk and Cookies, Carl. We had a tour manager who was dedicated to the party lifestyle, who really should have been the guy behind the wheel a lot of those times when I was. And he would say things like, oh, Carl's here, party's over. And I liked the good time as much as the next guy, but we had a drummer who used to play with, audition and hang with us for a few days. He used to play with Frank Marino. And so they were gathered at the tour manager's house. He starts rolling joints. And I just said, excuse me, guys, I'll go find something to do. And he looks at me leaving and he says to the other guys, where's he going? And they told Tim, Barry was his name. They told Tim, oh, Carl he's not into drugs. He doesn't do that. His eyes got wide and he said, I don't trust anybody who doesn't do drugs. Yeah. So that's where I was. I was on the other side of that line with most guys in that world.
Yeah. So do you think it was the influence of your parents, or is it just something that was within you?
It was within me. I saw no appeal in getting destroyed as a lifestyle choice over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I felt like I liked being strong and feeling in command and thinking clearly and having a sharp brain and a great memory and ready to go at any time, you know? So I don't mean fight. I mean, ready to, if the call came, I'm there right away. No, I need some time to recover first, man. You know, I never wanted to be that guy.
Right. Carl, let's talk about your solo work.
Yeah.
You and I believe it was Brett Walker wrote Taste of Love, and Jimmy Jameson, right? Jimmy Jameson actually recorded it, and it's a great song, by the way. I love it. It was actually featured on an episode of Baywatch, right?
Baywatch, yes. That came about because Jim Jameson was, of course, the singer of the theme song of Baywatch. And he was doing a solo album. They were looking for material, and they really didn't have a song that would put him on the radio for his first solo album there. The album was titled When Love Comes Down. He had his Memphis buddies on the record. It had sort of a loosey Memphis rock sound. It wasn't at all fitting in with the 90s, late 80s, early 90s kind of thing that was going on. And Brett and I, dear Brett, he's passed away several years now. We had a great songwriting partnership for a while there and just laughed our heads off when we were together. And we had this song, and I got signed to a publishing deal from us having this song. And our publishers took it straight to Jim Jameson, who was looking for material. Pardon me. And he went, wow, I got to do this song. So he recorded it for his album, and we ended up going in and playing the guitars and doing the backing vocals on the session, because his band was all back in Memphis, and this was all happening in Los Angeles. And so we can go do it quickly, and then Jim will just sing his track over it. And it turned out, the song you hear, and they released it as a single. There was a DJ out of San Francisco called Redbeard, I remember, who did a publicity blurb for it, and he said lyrics second to none on that song, which made me just kind of smile to myself. Yeah. Because Brett and I had this, the way the song came about, Brett and I both had this, we're nice, small, Brett was from Norman, Oklahoma, and I'm from Northern Ontario. Wow. And we both had this feeling of, we're small town guys that don't really have that swagger, that, hey, baby, come here, you know, I'm all man. We didn't know how to put that in a song. And I realized, well, we got to get out of our own way if we want to write a song like that. So I had this thought from seeing some experimental writing things David Bowie had once done. So I said to Brett, okay, let's take a notepad. I'll write a line on the top, first line. I'll hand it to you. You write whatever comes to your mind for the second line. Hand it back to me. I'll write the first thing that comes to mind for the third line. Back to you. 4 lines, we got a verse. Okay? Okay. So we tried it, and we got going, and back and forth. We were 2 hours at that and came up with 8 verses and a chorus, and we were mentally exhausted. So we went to the Chick-fil-A, got a chicken sandwich. We'll just come back and see what we've got. And we came back and we thought, wow, this is like nothing we would have written if we were trying to write a sexy song, because we got our inhibitions out of the way by just going to the, first reaction, first thing you think of. So we chose the best 3 verses and put it together after that. And that's why I smiled when Redbeard said lyrics second to none. Right. Because we did this trick to come up with the lyrics in a way we never would have otherwise.
Wow. Dude, do you have Chick-fil-A in Canada?
No, this was down in this was in LA. We don't have it in Canada. No, they haven't expanded here.
Oh, y'all were in LA.
What's that?
You guys were in LA.
Yeah, well, Brett lived in Long Beach, so I stayed in a motel right on the shore.
He was from Oklahoma, but
he was from Oklahoma, but his family had moved to Long Beach. So
was he a band guy, or was he just a
solo songwriter guy? We were working on a deal together at one point with Atlantic, but it kind of fell through for a few reasons. But Brett and I wrote probably 10 songs together, and we really got along great.
So one of your songs wound up in some horror movie, right? Freak Show.
Wow! From the obscure file. Holy
Freak
cow,
Show.
yeah.
Right?
Freak Show, yeah. The song I wrote called Fool's Paradise.
Yeah.
That our lawyer from the Coney Hatch days was the writer of the film. He's a crazy guy. He's got all kinds of hobbies. He's a magician as well. But anyway, he was looking for music and he wanted to include something of mine. So I played this song and he said, I love it. This is going in the movie. And what he actually used, I couldn't believe it, but he used my Fostex 4-track cassette demo that I'd made of it and just said, good enough, and slammed it in there. So yeah, there's a few different things like that. We have a song on the Degrassi Street series from the Coney Hatch days, and I've got a few other television and film credits of music I've done. But you know, there's always room. I'm always looking for the next one.
Right. Now, the feature film Heaven Before I Die featured your song Feel the Feeling Again. Where did the lyrics from that song come from?
To feel the feeling again. We had some music, very moody music. Sounded like it sounded like 2 a.m, just the feeling of the music. And I was thinking, what words can I come up with? And I was in a little basement apartment with my girlfriend at the time, and we had one of those Pioneer stereo receivers, and it was just putting out that soft green light from the display that you get in the dark, and that just put me in such a mood and so I started thinking about the wee small hours of the morning, as Frank Sinatra sang, and the feelings of being, well, it came from traveling around and the feeling of wanting to fit in somehow, and that feeling of fulfillment, I guess, that music gave me, or that complete joy. And I realized over the years, that's what drives musicians and performers forward through all kinds of unbelievable, stupid shit. To just get that feeling one more time, you know?
Right.
It felt so good, I gotta have that again. I don't care what it takes to get there.
Wow. Okay, that kind of brings me up to April of 2008, and you were critically injured in a car accident. Would you mind sharing that experience?
Sure. That was a 2 or 3 second window in time that changed my whole life. And it came about simply because I was in Australia, and I forgot that in Australia they drive on the other side of the road. Simple as that. I was visiting my daughter and my wife at the time. My daughter was starring in a TV show called The Saddle Club, and actually that's another place where I got a couple of songs in out of my film and TV credits. But I was in a rush because, well, I was very stressed, and I was with the Guess Who at the time, and my wife had kind of given me a hint that she didn't think things were going to last. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you just went to Australia with our daughter. What are you talking about? So I was absolutely spun with this threat to my future and to my perceived existence, you know, as I saw it at that time. So I was in Australia to try and save the family, essentially. And
wow.
Because I was under that kind of stress, the sun had gone down, and I got lost coming out of Melbourne to the little town that we were staying in. Came off the freeway onto a little dark country road, 2-lane highway. There were no street lights, there were no signs, there were no other cars even to remind me, oh yeah, follow that guy, be on the correct side. I was just in this stress thing where I was thinking I was at home. You know how when we're at home, you can drive 15 minutes and just realize I wasn't even noticing the last 15 minutes of driving. Right. You know, I was just but because we're in our home environment, we're safe to do that.
Sure.
In that country, I drove as if I was in my home environment, and it lasted about 1 minute before some poor guy coming home from work came around a blind curve. We were each at about 100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour, and hit head on. He tried to avoid me and came across the top of my car because he was in a much bigger vehicle. I was in a little Toyota Corolla, and his car came over top of me, crushed everything down on top of me. so that I was stuck in the car, spun around, absolutely destroyed. In that 2 or 3 second space of impact and his car going over me, I received approximately 50 different injuries. I was totaled, just smeared, pulled apart, legs exposed, fractures, blood everywhere, cuts all over, my head smashed in, my eye hanging out, my arm almost severed, both legs just messed up, bones broken everywhere, cuts all over me. The only part of me that wasn't hurt, well, I had a spinal fracture. The only part of me that wasn't hurt was my left shoulder and left arm.
Wow.
So everything else was in play. And I was stuck in the car for an hour and 45 minutes till they could get me out. And so following that, I was in a coma for 10 days, an induced coma. I had 38 hours of surgery to try and put me back together. And even then they weren't sure that I'd live. I was as close to dead as you can be. And one of my friends has the joke, Dixon was so healthy, he didn't know he was supposed to die. So that's the way I look at it too.
Yeah.
The doctors there said, look, you kept my circulation, my lungs, my heart were all in perfect condition. I was in athletic shape. So they kept me alive and gave me another chance at life. Those Australian doctors were the most amazing practitioners of their art that there could be. So many different specialists putting me back together in different regions of my body, you know.
Right.
But following that, I was in hospital for 5-6 months. I couldn't return to the Guess Who, and that was a big change. If that hadn't happened, I'd probably still be the singer of the Guess Who to this day, for better or worse.
Yeah. Did the other driver survive?
Oh, he had some injuries, but he was in much better position to take a head-on collision than I was.
Oh.
His car kind of went over me, and I don't know if it rolled, but he ended up with a broken ankle and a scalp wound. I don't think much else, but the fact is, I tried a few times to reach out and apologize, and he would never talk to me. So I really have had no opportunity to even find out clearly the full story. I heard this, the police who attended the scene came and saw me later, and they gave me that much information. That's all I know.
Wow.
But he was in a big Land Rover cruiser. So he was a surveyor, and apparently that meant he was better equipped to have the big bubble around him, you know?
Right. Now, I understand one of the guys in Coney Hatch made a promise to you when you were in the hospital.
Well, that's my dear friend, Andy. You know, we were just talking the other day. It was February of 1981 that we met, and I began playing with the band. So we just had our 40th anniversary of being friends and musical comrades. And yeah, he got on the phone to me, and I was still in the coma, but he said through the phone, it was held up to my ear, "Come on, Carl, you got to get through this. The hatch still has more rocking to do." And I remembered that when I came around.
Wow.
Somehow. And, you know, I've told that story a few times, and people have come up to me and said, that is such a solace to hear that you remembered that, because I had my husband in a coma and I wasn't sure if he could hear my messages or not. So that's such a comfort to me that you were able to communicate that. Yeah, Andy and I are closer now than we've ever been.
Yeah.
That changed everything in both our lives, in our relationship.
That's awesome. Hey, Carl, I know that you have written a lot of songs, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you if you would play one for us.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I happen to have my guitar right here.
Man, how convenient.
Yeah, I would never miss an opportunity to play and sing a bit for the folks.
What are you going to play,
sweet,
Carl?
Well, this is a song that I wrote a couple of years ago. Must be 3 years ago now. And it really is about how we're also hard on ourselves in this day and age, especially. You know, we're always feeling like we got to compete with the world and reach those targets and the key performance indicators, all that shit. And we really need to just be kinder to ourselves and say at the end of the day, hey, well done. You did all right today, kid. You know, be proud of yourself. So this song's called Line Drive. That's what it's about.
Oh, cool.
So here we go. I'm a big believer in tomorrow. I can see a lot of things going right. Another chance to set my world in order while I keep heading for the light. Yesterday brought me another step closer to being the man that I'd like to be. So when we settle in for dreaming at the end of the evening, I promise this is what you'll see. I'll go to sleep with a smile on my face, knowing I did the best that I could. And if this day didn't all go my way, well, it was still pretty good. If anybody's keeping score at home, you can tell them that I hit a line drive. Maybe it didn't quite clear the fences, but at least I kept the inning alive. At least I kept the inning alive. If you took only the strikeouts and the missed opportunities, the story'd be too sad to tell. When I look back on my life and the lessons it showed me, this cowboy's doing pretty well. I'm not saying it's easy getting up when you're knocked down and feeling like you're losing again. But I remember a wise man told me, you didn't lose, you just ran out of time, my friend. You'll do better when you try again. And so go to sleep with a smile on my face, knowing I did the best that I could. And if this day didn't all go my way, well, it was still pretty good. For anybody keeping score at home, you can tell them that I hit a line drive. Maybe it didn't quite clear the fences, but at least I kept the inning alive. At least I kept the inning alive. I kept the inning alive.
Wow, guys, that was Carl Dixon right here live on Barside Jive. You know, Carl, everything happens for a reason. I don't believe that anything's just happenstance. I believe things happen because they're supposed to happen. And it was supposed to happen for you to play that song today and for me to hear it. I just want you to know that.
I'm glad.
So, thank you.
My joy in doing it.
Yeah.
Actually, I was feeling that something's going on here.
I appreciate that, brother.
That's the power of song, my friend.
Oh, dude. Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting how I can hear a song and I can tell you what I was doing and where I was and what was going on in my life when I heard it, you know. It's like Kim Mitchell's Go for Soda. Dude, I can tell you exactly what I was doing and when I was listening to that song and what was going on in my life. It's just how it seems like everything in my life was connected to some kind of music somewhere. You know, I had it's like my life is a movie, and those songs are the soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
So when I hear those songs, I relive those moments.
Yeah. Well, I have the same memory of the first time I heard More Than a Feeling.
Yeah. I want to talk a minute about your autobiography, Strange Way to Live.
Yes.
What is that title? Where'd it come from?
Well, that title is from a song I wrote. It's a strange way to live for a young thing. Long way to come back from the edge. She's walking on the line, gone before her time. It's a strange way to live.
Wow. Okay. Gotcha.
And I wrote that before I ever knew I was going to write a book. In fact, I never imagined myself writing a book. But after my accident, I had to reimagine myself a lot of different ways. I didn't know, I was so badly hurt, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to stand on a stage again.
Yeah.
They were going to amputate this arm when I first got in there, and they decided to save it if they could. They had no confidence they could, but here I still am. Yeah. So, yeah, there were a lot of terrible injuries, but that changed my whole outlook on life. I had to realize everything's possible. I couldn't return to the Guess Who, so I had to think, what do I do now? And actually, some friends of mine said, well, we don't know if you'll be able to sing again, perform again, but you could maybe become a speaker and talk about your experiences. But to be a speaker, you probably should have a book. So I thought, okay, I'll start writing a book. And my dad always said he thought he had a book in, I had a book in me. So I got at it and I really enjoyed it, but it took a long time. Holy cow. It's not an easy thing, but it sure is satisfying. And, you know, from that, I saw other possibilities of, are we running out of time?
No, we're good. We're good.
From that, I saw other possibilities of just be free. Geez, I was almost dead. I've got a second chance at everything now. So many of my best experiences have come about since that time where I was almost killed, because I reframed it and I learned a lot of lessons. And one of the powerful ones was when something that dramatic happens in your life, when, you know, when the big one hits, we often find ourselves at first thinking, oh, gee, if I could only get back to how it used to be.
Yeah.
You got to realize, no, you go forward. Life is lived forward. It'll never be like that again.
Right. Right.
You got to recognize it's supposed to be different now with all the things you've learned from that experience.
Right.
You don't try and unlearn what you've just gone through. You apply and you use those lessons in a new, productive, and with any luck, helpful way.
Yeah, because if everything was supposed to stay the same, that wouldn't have happened to change it.
Correct.
So you got to be committed to follow the path wherever it goes or whatever obstacle gets in the way.
Yes.
So you couldn't return to the Guess Who because of your...
I was unable to do the job the way I did it before. Well, I still don't do it exactly the way I did before. I had a lot more leaping about in me, you know, and I could wander out into the audience. Today, I have to count my steps and manage how much I walk and use my legs.
Oh, okay.
But they had to move on without me. They couldn't wait for 2 years till I could come back.
Right.
They had a business to run.
Yeah.
So it was a very bitter pill to swallow, because one of my big motivations in getting better, the people in the hospital said I was the most motivated patient they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Because I had this feeling, A, I can't let my family down. I got to get back out of here and back into the swing of things. And B, I can't let the band down. The guys are all counting on me, you know. I'd really become this sort of leader figure within this older band with my my energy and drive. And so I had that as my identity. And that pulled me forward to the point that I was just stupid. I didn't even understand how badly I was hurt. I was fighting against that all the way. And I pushed a little too hard in the effort to get back soon. Both my legs, one leg rebroke within a year, and the other, I actually am going in tomorrow for surgery to remove the metal from the other leg that they were going to amputate, but they decided to do a bone graft and see if that would work. So after, 12 years now, the metal finally has to come out because it's become a problem. So that's where I go tomorrow.
Wow. Well, let me just say,
but I'm optimistic. I feel like I'll be better now. I'll be better afterward than I am today. So that'll be good.
What would be the message that you tried to get across through your autobiography?
The message is really, I suppose, follow what makes you tick. Don't fight what's in you, because that's what, it's not about getting rich. It's about your own growth and fulfillment and happiness and the experiences that you can have and create by making yourself open to what the universe wants to teach you and pursuing what's in you, developing that as fully and as strongly as you can. Because we each are unique individuals. We each have a message for the world and the people around us that no one else can give. It may just be a little tweak, a slightly different thing, but if we develop ourselves and let ourselves reach our fullest potential, we have something to share that no one else in this planet can share, because it's our voice, our structure, combined with the experiences. Each of us has a unique set of experiences. Somebody could grow up right next to you all your life and have a different view of the world because of the way they receive information, the messages that they take in. So that's how we each have a unique voice. And really, it's got to be a voice that looks toward sharing messages of love and togetherness and community and working together. Otherwise, you're not a force for good on this planet.
Right. Carl, where can people get your book? Is it on Amazon?
Yes, it is. It's also Dundurn Publishing in Canada is the publishing house that took it on. And it's gone into reprint, I'm happy to say. So there's a whole new crop of copies waiting for people to run in and buy.
Okay, awesome. Is there another website that's a place that you'd like for them to really go to get it?
Well, I have carldixon.com. If people order it from me, I can sign it to them and give a message that I'm happy to share through that and speak directly to people who are interested, you know?
Right. So what is next for Carl Dixon?
Well, I just put an album out, a solo album called Unbroken through a German label last year, just in time for the COVID pen to hit. So that actually, I got people telling me it was in their top 10 albums of the year, high ratings everywhere it was heard, but the whole thing fell down because of the shutdown. So I'm looking forward to doing a few shows when things open up to promote that. I'm also always working on a new album. There's always something going on in the pipeline. I've been more productive since the time of my accident than I was my whole life before that.
Wow.
Because, as I say, it's unfettered now. I feel like I have this feeling, why hold back? Just do it, go. Who knows? I realized you could be gone like that. So why wait? So there'll be more shows once things open up. I was just starting to get a nice circuit of theaters and inspirational speaking events going. And I've been doing some of that online, but of course it's not the same. Virtual shows with virtual people. So I'll be very glad when things open up again, to whatever extent they do. Of course, according to my earlier rule, we've just gone through the big one, so it'll never be the same again.
Right.
It's supposed to be the same now.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to adapting what I do to whatever the next phase of the world looks like.
Man, I hope it brings you to Dallas, because I'd sure like to hang out with you. Me
too. Well, that'd be a fine thing. I've had a few events down in Texas for inspirational speaking, near Austin and San Antonio, Horseshoe Bay near Austin, San Antonio, and someplace La Torreta, which I believe we flew in and out of Dallas. But that was just that was 3 years ago, I think. So I do get down to Texas from time to time for these different speaking events and things. A concert, a theater, who knows?
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me where, if it's Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, I mean, anywhere in Texas, man, you let me know and I'll be there.
Thanks. Well, I sure will do that.
That'd be awesome. Let's talk real quick as we close about the Coney Hatch release live from the El Macombo.
Yeah. Well, we spent many years building our sound I mean, we defined it in those early years with the 3 albums we did from 82 to 85. And then we just kept playing from time to time, a patch of reunion gigs here and there, some time away from each other, back together, time away from each other. And we've really come together strongly in the years since my accident. As per my friend Andy's saying, the hatch has more rocking to do. You got to get better. So we did. And we've gone overseas a few times since then and done a new album in that period of time. So the live album, really, we're still rocking hard, and I'm singing better than I ever have. And the whole band is just like, we kept playing and everybody stayed healthy. So our chops are just as strong as they ever were. And the band sounds just great these days on the live shows. So I'm glad we finally captured that in a recording.
Right. So I don't have my own copy yet, but I'm going to get one.
Oh,
so.
You just wait. You just wait. You're going to love it.
Well, Carl, I just want to wish you and your family the very best, health, happiness, and success, everything great that this life has to offer. And we'll be thinking about you tomorrow during your surgery.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thanks for the opportunity to talk to you and to everybody, all your listeners.
Well, sure. Guys, everything Carl Dixon can be found on his website, Carl Dixon, it's Dixon.com. And as always, I will include links to his music and his autobiography in the description below this video. So all you have to do is click. Thanks for joining Carl and I today for this episode of Barside Jive. And until next time, peace, love, and rock and roll.
Crowd goes wild.
You're such a great guy. I just really appreciate you. It's been a heck of an interview.
Well, I'm glad you took it so. I am really enjoying the opportunity to share these thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed, and I think others will.
Thank you very much. This was a real pleasure
Carl.
for me as well. Take care.
Carl, thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Well, guys, I hope that you enjoyed my chat with the legendary Carl Dixon, and stay tuned because next week I believe we've got Corky Lang from Mountain on the schedule, so we're looking forward to that chat as well. And I want to thank AJ for helping me host this show and doing it here at his bar here in historic Grapevine, Texas. And when you're in the area, we're just 5 minutes north of Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, so come by and say hello. But we do appreciate you watching. If you need to find my YouTube channel, it is youtube.com/Barside Jive Live. And you can always email me, DC at barsidejive.com. Well, thanks again for watching, and we will see you soon. And remember, drink responsibly and never drink and drive. See you soon.